Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are strapping in for a high-speed journey right into the heart of global capitalism.
Hmm.
And we're focusing on a subject we all think we know, McDonald's.
Right.
But we aren't here to debate the merits of, the Filet-O-Fish. We are tackling the company that basically defines global consistency.
It is the standard.
It is. A brand whose golden arches represent this massive economic monolith. Our mission today is to unpack the sheer power, the ruthless logistics, and the almost unbelievable scale it takes to keep this thing running across continents.
That's precisely it. Our deep dive today, it's not about the menu items, it's about the metrics.
Yeah.
We're analyzing McDonald's as a perfectly calculated, highly sophisticated global logistical machine.
A machine, that's the word.
And we're drawing on these exhaustive observations shared in the material from Tenenbaum. We're going to show how this is a business where, fractions of a second and single cents are tracked with billion-dollar precision.
Wow.
And that reveals the rigid standards and, frankly, the shocking profitability that drives the entire enterprise.
And the insights we've been given here are genuinely surprising. They move way beyond the standard business school case study.
Oh, for sure.
We have details on the proprietary secret that makes the Coca-Cola at McDonald's taste better than anywhere else. We have the true cost of time calculated down to the second, a number that really, and I mean really recalibrated my understanding of efficiency.
It's a mind-bending figure.
It is. And how some powerful governments have literally tried to manipulate the Big Mac index just to hide their economic instability. So if you've ever eaten a Big Mac, you are about to have some profound aha moments about what's really going on under the hood of that transaction. Okay, let's unpack this machine.
Let's start with the concept of ubiquity. McDonald's is, for all intents and purposes, it's a near universal standard.
It's everywhere.
When you travel internationally, its presence is just a given. And often, if the local economy can't quite sustain a McDonald's, the competitor, Burger King, is right there, sometimes right next door.
Which highlights this bizarre global duopoly in standardized fast food, doesn't it?
It really does. It suggests that a culture has either embraced this specific type of high-speed, repeatable dining experience, or it's rejected it. There's not much in between.
But the success of McDonald's goes way beyond just being available. The material we have touches on this fascinating psychological thing they've mastered, which is pretty unique among food brands.
The logo itself.
Exactly. The M logo doesn't just represent a place to eat, it actively triggers a physical response. You see those golden arches, and your brain immediately connects that visual cue to hunger, to predictable gratification.
It's almost Pavlovian. Other drinks, cola brands, they might trigger thirst, sure.
Right.
But for a solid food brand to generate such a reliable, immediate desire on a global scale, that's an extraordinary marketing and operational feat. It's instant, reliable expectation realized.
It is the ultimate visual cue, and it's built on decades of just relentless consistency.
Absolutely. However, it's important to stress that this ubiquity is strategic. It is not accidental. McDonald's is not everywhere, and those absences, they speak volumes about the company's non-negotiable standards.
Right, so you find them globally, but there are these huge exceptions, most of Africa, for example, and big parts of Central Asia.
And the reason they're not in those markets, according to the deep analysis provided by Tenenbaum, is usually McDonald's choice. It's not the market rejecting them.
Okay, so take a country like Cambodia, for instance. Why aren't they there?
The reason is very specific and logistical.
Yeah.
They cannot guarantee the perfect quality and consistency of their core ingredients, especially the beef.
Ah, the supply chain.
The supply chain. Or they can't maintain a reliable, calculable price for their menu. They simply cannot find local suppliers who can consistently meet their incredibly tough requirements.
Their standards are explicitly described as tough, and that really reveals the core philosophy of the company, doesn't it?
It does. McDonald's will forfeit expansion into a potentially huge market if doing so compromises the quality or, and this is critical, the predictability of their product. This focus on absolute rigid control means they need extraordinary measures for their partners.
Measures like Hamburger University,
Right.
which is not just some quirky marketing name, it's a commitment device. If you want to open a McDonald's franchise, you have to attend this university. It's near Chicago.
And that's where franchise owners are, for lack of a better word, indoctrinated into the company's operating system.
And this system is just institutionalized uniformity, right?
Yeah.
Enforced through manuals that are, tens of thousands of pages long?
Think about that for a moment. Tens of thousands of pages, detailing every minute process from how often you change the fryer oil to the exact stacking order of pickles and onions on a burger.
That's incredible.
That operational rigor is the true backbone of their global success. It ensures that the quarter pounder you buy in Osaka is functionally, logistically, and chemically identical to the one you buy in Orlando. The cost of running Hamburger University is justified entirely by minimizing variance.
And that structural rigor, it extends right into their financial model, just maybe the most fascinating part of how they operate.
It is.
McDonald's is not primarily a food service company. It's one of the world's largest commercial real estate holders.
Absolutely. That's a key distinction that was noted in the financial structure. In many, many cases, McDonald's corporate owns the physical land and the building itself.
While the franchise owner is responsible for running the operating business, what's a legal term?
It's often referred to as the Fondo de Comercio.
Okay, let's clarify that for our listeners. Fondo de Comercio.
Hmm.
It literally translates to the commercial fund, but what it really means here is the operating business itself.
Exactly. The brand goodwill, the customer base, the day-to-day operations. The franchise owns the hard work and the daily risk.
While McDonald's corporate hangs on to the appreciating asset, the real estate.
Precisely. And this positions McDonald's with immense long-term stability. They earn a fixed rent from their franchisees, which insulates them from the daily ups and downs of the restaurant business.
And at the same time, they're ensuring every new store is built on a piece of property in a high-traffic zone that's just going to go up in value. It's a brilliant, almost risk-free financial loop.
And that stability is essential because, at this terrifying scale, the slightest variable becomes a monumental financial lever.
You have to look at what they call the economics of perfection. Consider the metric mentioned in the provided data, a mere 1-cent change in the global pricing of their key products.
Just 1 cent.
That can impact McDonald's entry revenue by anywhere from $1 billion to $2 billion annually.
When you have billions of transactions every year, the concept of a nickel or a dime is just exponentially magnified. They are playing with billion-dollar nickels.
That's a great way to put it.
It means that pricing decisions, especially in major international markets, they're not trivial marketing choices. They're massive financial undertakings that require global coordination and prediction. This scale dictates their relentless focus on efficiency, especially time.
And this is the failure that truly defines the operational ruthlessness of the machine,
Oh.
the cost of time. This is the detail from Tenenbaum's work that just blew me away.
It's the big one.
The cost of a single second of delay in service is calculated to cost McDonald's hundreds of millions of dollars annually. We're talking a specific figure of a $250 million loss.
If service efficiency drops by just 1 single second
Yeah.
across their entire global network.
It's staggering, isn't it? That figure underscores that McDonald's is optimized for throughput above everything else. They use timers in their drive-thrus and internal metrics on the production line, not just to measure staff performance, but to quantify potential financial leakage.
Every second is money.
So just to be absolutely clear for everyone listening, that $250 million loss for 1 second, that's not just measuring the cost of paying an employee 1 second longer.
And no, it's much bigger than that.
The calculation incorporates the estimated loss of future customer visits because of frustration, right? The delay of the next car in the line, the whole ripple effect of slowing down this finely tuned machine.
Precisely. If a customer waits 1 second longer than their predetermined threshold, they are running the risk of losing that customer for life, or at least compromising the speed promise that is their core offering. The entire system is built on minimizing variance and maximizing speed.
So if that perfection is compromised like it is in those regions they choose to avoid, they either pull out or they struggle.
Because the profitability is tied directly to the efficiency of time, it's a non-negotiable business tenet for them.
Okay, so we've established the foundation of standardization. But let's challenge this idea that the taste is identical everywhere. Because while the process is uniform, the raw ingredients, they often reveal some key differences, especially the meat.
That's where local sourcing, despite those incredibly strict manuals, creates a noticeable variance. The material shared by Tenenbaum details this pretty clearly. The top 3 countries for the highest quality McDonald's beef.
So the places where you'll genuinely taste a better burger.
Exactly. Are New Zealand, Australia, and Argentina. And this isn't an accident. These are countries with world-renowned cattle industries, superior, often grass-fed, beef supply chains.
And the standard for that beef, regardless of where it comes from, is incredibly strict, which Just reinforces that point about logistical control,
It does. The meat has to contain 20% fat. No more, no less.
which seems like a weirdly specific number, but it's deeply tied to that $250 million efficiency metric we were just talking about.
The 20% fat content is crucial because it ensures thermal uniformity. If the fat percentage varies, the temperature and the time you need to cook the patty to the exact internal safety and flavor standard, well, that changes.
So if the crew has to adjust the cooking time by even 10 seconds because the meat is a bit leaner or fattier,
The whole assembly line backs up. The 20% composition guarantees consistent cooking time, consistent taste, and consistent throughput across millions of patties every single day. It's a logistical requirement disguised as a culinary one.
but this relentless pursuit of consistency sometimes fails, even in developed markets.
Mhm.
Tenenbaum shared some interesting personal anecdotes about quality variations he thought himself. He said the quality in Spain and France was surprisingly poor.
He used the Spanish term malísimo, right?
Yeah, which means terrible or exceptionally poor quality for both the meat and the bun.
And that's a major insight. If a supply chain breakdown can happen in Western Europe, a highly organized economic zone, it really highlights the fragility of the whole standardization system.
Right. If local suppliers can't meet that 20% fat ratio, or the bun provider uses inferior flour, the whole experience just degrades.
It proves that the success of the machine is highly dependent on the integrity of local partners.
Speaking of minor grievances that tie directly into profit margins, we have to talk about the great ice policy grievance.
Ah,
It perfectly illustrates how high-margin beverage sales are prioritized.
yeah.
In the United States, if you ask for a drink with no ice, they typically give you a full cup of soda.
Right, maximizing customer satisfaction.
But you contrast that with what you often see in Europe, as noted in the data. If you ask for no ice there,
You get a cup that's about a third empty. They only give you the amount of drink that would have fit in the glass if it had ice.
it feels like a minor slight, but it directly protects the highest margin product they sell.
Which brings us to the unbreakable Coca-Cola partnership. This is a truly symbiotic relationship.
And it's huge. Coca-Cola sales inside McDonald's restaurants account for a massive 15% of Coca-Cola's total global sales.
15%. That level of interdependency means they treat each other not just as partners, but as critical infrastructure.
And this relationship, it confirms one of the greatest fast food urban myths, a fact that was validated by the details provided by Tenenbaum,
The special syrup.
the special syrup. Coca-Cola produces a unique formula syrup specifically and exclusively for McDonald's. It's a proprietary blend, different from the syrup sold to every other vendor in the world.
So if you've ever noticed that the Coke at McDonald's just tastes crisper or colder or just better, you were not imagining it.
Right.
That special formula, combined with McDonald's specific preparation standards, like using refrigerated water tanks and special filtration systems, it ensures a superior, standardized, and distinctive taste. It's a key market differentiator.
And here is the financial secret of the Golden Arches, the detail every investor knows, the beverage goldmine.
The profit margin on drinks is astonishing. It sits at around 90%.
90%. It's a staggering return. The profit driver is not the subsidized burger or the low-cost fries.
It's the liquid refreshment. That's why they push the large combo meals and the fountain drinks so aggressively.
This also drives some fascinating global consumer trends, which, surprisingly, benefit Coca-Cola's bottom line even more. We found a surprising statistic in the global data.
The sugar-free trend.
Yeah, 55% to 60% of Coke sales in McDonald's are now sugar-free Coke Zero or Diet Coke globally.
Now, that trend varies geographically. Sugar is still king in regions like Alabama, for example, but globally, it's a tremendous financial win for Coca-Cola.
And why is that?
Because artificial sweeteners, which are largely produced in places like China, are dramatically cheaper than natural sugar.
And crucially, they have a fixed global price. Sugar, as a commodity, is subject to all this volatile pricing based on agriculture, climate, tariffs.
But artificial sweeteners provide a stable, low-cost input. This ensures that the 90% profit margin stays protected from unpredictable global commodity markets. It's a subtle but profound logistical advantage.
And you can't overlook the specific, localized deviations. Tenenbaum noted in his extensive travels, Indonesia was the only country he visited where McDonald's did not carry Coca-Cola Light or Zero.
Which just shows how, despite all these global pressures and trends, local market dynamics, whether it's taste or availability or maybe import restrictions, can create these very specific exceptions to an otherwise global standardized rule.
Okay, so moving from ingredients to the cultural context, we see that while The core items, the Big Mac, the Quarter Pounder, are constants. Local menu variation is both expected and really necessary.
For cultural and religious adaptation, absolutely. And these adaptations are massive logistical undertakings. For instance, in India, because the cow is sacred, McDonald's serves virtually no beef. Their flagship product is something like the chicken Maharaja Mac,
Right. And in Arab nations, every piece of meat has to be halal.
which means it must be slaughtered according to strict religious standards facing Mecca. That requires entirely separate, certified supply chains.
You see smaller but still significant adjustments elsewhere. Germany offers the beloved McRib and often something called Mr. B.
Yeah, it's a Swiss original flat potato croquette. It's designed to appeal to local comfort food tastes.
And Holland, they default to mayonnaise instead of ketchup. And a lot of these European locations will often charge you a little bit for extra condiment packets.
Relentless monetization of every single operational input.
Then you get the truly exotic adaptations. Japan, a market known for innovation, offers things like the ebi burger, made of shrimp or langostino,
But maybe the most profound cultural adaptation is in Israel.
where the majority of their locations are designated kosher. This is a huge distinction because kosher law strictly prohibits mixing meat and dairy.
So their flagship item, the cheeseburger, is explicitly banned.
It's banned. It forces a fundamental change to their core product, creating an experience that's just vastly different from, say, a non-kosher American location.
These local adjustments, they show the tension between standardization and necessary cultural flexibility. Yet the existence of an identical baseline product globally, the Big Mac, lets us use it as a powerful non-political economic tool,
The Big Mac Index.
the Big Mac Index.
For those who aren't familiar, this is one of the few viable global comparative economic standards. Economists use it to determine purchasing power parity, or PPP.
And PPP, in simple terms, it just asks, what should the exchange rate between two currencies be if a standardized basket of identical goods costs the same in both countries?
And since the Big Mac is, despite those local beef variations, logistically standardized everywhere, it provides a very rare, clean comparison. It tells us if a currency is undervalued or overvalued against the US dollar.
And when you look at the index, the price differences are dramatic. The most expensive Big Mac in the world is consistently in Switzerland. It's over $8.
Wow.
It's followed closely by wealthy markets and some economically volatile ones like Argentina and Uruguay. And this is where the price of a hamburger goes beyond simple economics and enters the realm of politics.
His point is critical. The analysis from Tenenbaum details this extraordinary case of political interference in Argentina.
It's an amazing story.
For several years, the Argentine government actually forced McDonald's to keep the price of the Big Mac artificially low
So why would a sovereign government interfere with the fast food chain's pricing?
to manipulate the index.
Hmm.
By suppressing the Big Mac's price, the government could artificially make the Argentine peso look stronger on the Big Mac index than it really was.
So they were projecting an image of greater economic stability to the global financial community.
Exactly. This policy was so pervasive that it lasted for years. It led to these bizarre situations where consumers knew the Big Mac was unnaturally cheap.
That is astonishing. Weaponizing a hamburger for economic propaganda? Did that have any unintended consequences?
Absolutely. When the price is artificially low, demand soars, and the company's obviously reluctant to sell a product at a loss.
So you get this black market Big Mac phenomenon. Locations would refuse to advertise it. They'd often tell customers it was out of stock or limit its sale, just pushing customers toward higher margin, less scrutinized items.
So the company fought the government quietly. But that anecdote proves that even this highly standardized, efficient global machine is vulnerable to direct, localized political manipulation.
It's a powerful illustration of how the machine interacts with local power. And this price difference, it relates directly to the product's social standing. In the US, McDonald's is defined by its low price. It's junk food.
Right, quick and cheap.
But in many developing nations, the perception is totally inverted. This is a key finding that was emphasized in the observations shared by Tenenbaum.
Okay, so in places like Egypt, or in the early days in Israel, or even today in wealthier parts of Azerbaijan, it's not cheap at all.
Far from it. It's considered an elite luxury meal that the average citizen cannot afford to eat regularly.
So it's not just a meal, it's a status marker.
Precisely. In Baku, Azerbaijan, Tenenbaum recalled that wealthy people would explicitly go to McDonald's to show off their status, their access to global brands, and high-quality Western hygiene.
The golden arches signify aspiration and cleanliness.
And that consistency of the experience becomes the final defining factor that dictates its global appeal. It doesn't matter if it's seen as cheap food or a luxury good.
That consistency offers a unique benefit when you're traveling too. McDonald's is a safety zone.
Yes.
When you're moving through places where food safety and hygiene might be a serious concern, the predictability of McDonald's becomes incredibly valuable.
It's reliability insurance. Tenenbaum recounted his time in Morocco, where gastroenteritis, Montezuma's revenge, is a common travel hazard. McDonald's, despite all the amazing local cuisine, became a guaranteed safe eating option.
Because of those intense, non-negotiable hygiene standards enforced through those 10,000-page manuals.
It translates directly into consumer trust in environments where that trust is otherwise scarce.
That perfect reliability. It reminds me of that story of the traveling blind man who only stayed at Holiday Inn hotels.
Because the layout was always the same.
Right, the furniture, the layout, it was consistent in every room so he could navigate independently. McDonald's offers that same functional consistency for your stomach. When in doubt, you know exactly what you're getting. And critically, you know what you are avoiding.
Let's briefly touch on the historical context before we look at operations. While Ray Kroc gets the credit for scaling the machine, it was built on the foundation laid by the McDonald brothers in the 1950s.
They were the ones who systematized the kitchen, right? To the point where any employee could do any task instantly.
Exactly. But it's the cultural shockwaves of its global expansion that really illustrate its power.
The cultural impact anecdotes are fascinating. I mean, think about the expansion into Russia. The opening of McDonald's in Moscow was this iconic, defining moment.
The fall of communism, symbolized by a burger.
Right. And years later, when political tensions forced them to close, the operational integrity was so profound that the local management just rebranded with a domestic name. They used the exact same facilities, the exact same supply chains, and the exact same standardized food.
The machine was deeper than the brand itself.
And what about the opening in China in 1991, in Beijing near Tiananmen Square?
The queues were astronomical. The data recounted in the material suggests that tourists were genuinely confused. They weren't sure if the massive lines were for the nearby Mao Mausoleum, a communist icon, or for a capitalist Big Mac.
The visual juxtaposition of that must have been a powerful, immediate sign of China's shifting economic priorities.
And we can't overlook the remarkable legal and political history in Israel, which involved the Arab boycott that started decades ago.
McDonald's feared losing the massive, wealthy Arab market, so they refused to enter Israel for a long time.
Which created a vacuum that a local entrepreneur filled by opening a chain called McDavid.
Right. And the showdown came when McDonald's finally decided to enter the Israeli market and sued McDavid for name infringement.
And the outcome was this dramatic twist. The Israeli Supreme Court ruled against McDonald's, essentially saying that by participating in the boycott and intentionally avoiding the country, McDonald's forfeited their right to police the use of the name.
It's a rare instance where local political history successfully challenged the power of a global brand.
On a much lighter but highly practical note, let's share an operational hack for the listener. The secret trick for getting consistently fresh fries.
Oh, this is a good one. It's simple.
Right.
Order them without salt.
You're hacking the system of efficiency for quality. McDonald's pre-salts and holds fries under heat lamps to maximize speed and a new, fresh batch to avoid cross-contamination.
You get them piping hot, and you can just add your own salt. It's a testament to how rigidly controlled the whole process is. A small deviation demands a total restart.
And despite this insistence on standardization, there are a few locations that just defy the standard model.
Like the world's largest McDonald's in Orlando. It's 5,000 square meters.
It functions less like a typical fast food joint and more like a theme park restaurant. It offers things you wouldn't find anywhere else. Ravioli, capelletti, and apparently surprisingly decent pizza.
These locations must serve as experimental zones or just massive tourist magnets.
For sure. And similarly, the Hong Kong location that offers waiter service. You sit down, a waiter takes your order. It's a deliberate move upmarket, a premium version of the highly mechanized product.
It shows they're constantly testing the boundaries of their brand identity, seeing how far they can push the definition of fast food.
The scale of the company's corporate footprint is just hard to process. Let's look at their raw material demand. McDonald's buys 7% of all U.S. potatoes.
7% of all potatoes grown in the U.S.
And for processing tomatoes, used for ketchup and sauces, they purchase an astounding 15% of the global total.
That volume means McDonald's doesn't just buy ingredients. They dictate agricultural standards.
A corporate decision about the thickness of a tomato slice, even by a millimeter, impacts the planting schedules, harvest methods, and processing techniques for huge numbers of farms worldwide. They own the supply chain, not just the assembly line.
And this standardization is often driven by legal risks. We forget the profound worldwide impact of that famous hot coffee case in the 1990s.
Right, the customer who spilled coffee and received a significant payout.
That litigation, which resulted in a $500,000 award, led to a global decision to lower the serving temperature of coffee worldwide.
It just illustrates how small, localized legal decisions can have these vast global logistical and operational consequences. It's standardization driven by fear of litigation, not just efficiency.
Which brings us to the future of the machine, automation. And McDonald's has already tried to implement technology and has failed early on.
Right, Tenenbaum referenced the disastrous early attempts to robotize drive-through ordering systems. I think they were using IBM's voice recognition tech, which just couldn't handle the variability and context of human speech.
It was a disaster.
That was the early generation of AI. However, the future prediction is clear. Within 2 to 3 years, once modern robot technology improves its dexterity and contextual awareness, the expert analysis suggests most McDonald's operations will be fully automated.
So we're talking robots, flipping burgers, assembling sandwiches, running the drive-through lines.
Drastically reducing the need for the human element, which is the primary source of variability and labor cost. The ultimate goal is to realize the concept of McDonald's as a perfectly automated machine, finally solving the problems of human error and labor shortages.
And we'll wrap up the McDonald's analysis with a final, fun data point that highlights their sheer reach. Marketing wins. Everyone remembers the frenzy over the Szechuan sauce promotion,
Which generated immense viral noise from a relatively small marketing expense. But here's a surprisingly deep piece of fan data. High-profile figures like Donald Trump are daily Big Mac fanatics.
reportedly eating them for lunch and dinner every single day.
That level of fan loyalty among the global elite is a marketing success that's worth quantifying.
We spent the last half hour analyzing McDonald's as this global barometer of economic health and political influence. Now, we want to widen our view to the global events themselves. We're turning to the broader geopolitical analysis provided by Tenenbaum and, as always, maintaining our impartial reporting standard. We have some critical updates on Venezuela and the escalating tension over oil tankers.
The situation regarding Venezuela and U.S. sanctions enforcement is definitely escalating sharply. Recent reports have confirmed the seizure of a third oil tanker. But to understand the leverage being applied, you have to look at the specifics of this latest seizure, which are detailed in the analysis.
And what are those specifics?
The vessel's owner was a Chinese company, and crucially, the ship was flying a Panamanian flag.
And Panama is a significant, long-standing U.S. ally.
Exactly. The United States seized the oil, citing sanctions violations, and is now using that oil, effectively confiscating the cargo. This is a very aggressive action that intentionally disrupts global trade flows connected to sanctioned nations.
So it targets Chinese interests while involving a U.S. ally's flag. That suggests a pretty complex strategy. How did the Venezuelan leadership, Maduro and Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, how did they react?
They reacted with political bravado, threatening to have future oil ships escorted by the Venezuelan Navy. However, the analysis provided by Tenenbaum is heavily skeptical of the credibility of that threat.
And why this skepticism? About their military capacity?
Well, Venezuela lacks modern, reliable naval assets capable of effectively challenging the U.S. fleet in the Caribbean. Their military largely relies on older Russian and Chinese-supplied hardware, and their armed forces are plagued by internal instability and maintenance issues.
So the threat of escorting ships is viewed more as a statement for a domestic political audience than a credible military deterrence.
That's the assessment.
This aggressive action, particularly seizing oil connected to Chinese-owned assets, seems to fit into a much broader political strategy regarding Russia.
It absolutely does. The geopolitical analysis suggests that the U.S. is actively using Venezuela as a pressure point against Russia during these ongoing, sensitive Ukraine negotiations.
How so?
Venezuela and Cuba are key Russian allies in the Western Hemisphere. By aggressively destabilizing or undermining Russia's relationships with these allies, the U.S. aims to increase Moscow's need for concessions in the Ukraine conflict. It's a classic strategy. Leverage periphery conflicts to gain advantage in core negotiations.
And there's a clear domestic political component driving this as well, isn't there?
There is. This strategy is reinforced by U.S. domestic politics. Key political figures, particularly those like Senator Marco Rubio, who are Cuban American, have a deep-seated personal and political motivation to undermine Russian allied regimes in Latin America.
So pushing this hardline anti-Maduro agenda is both personally advantageous and politically successful for them.
And it ensures that the U.S. maintains this highly aggressive pressure lever strategy on Moscow's Latin American backyard. It's a powerful synergy of domestic policy influencing international conflict leverage.
Okay, turning our attention to Eastern Europe, we're seeing some scattered reports that suggest potentially advancing negotiations between Ukraine and Russia, and this is coinciding with the current holiday season.
Yes, but we have to view that tone of advancement with significant caution. The context here, as highlighted by the International Observer, is the duration of the Russian holiday period, which is quite extensive.
How long does this holiday period last?
Russia's traditional Christmas and New Year period stretches until roughly January 15th. This time frame, known as Svyatki, often involves a genuine slowdown in military and operational activity.
Okay, so any reports of a peace talk, tone, or unexpected progress should be viewed as a temporary reflection of the holiday spirit and operational pauses.
Rather than a genuine or permanent shift in Russia's long-term policy or operational strategy.
Exactly. We really have to wait until after the 15th of January to properly gauge any true change in trajectory or commitment to diplomacy.
This has been an incredibly detailed and expansive deep dive, thanks to the granular insights we gleaned from the material provided by Tenenbaum. We've moved far beyond the menu, seeing McDonald's defined by an unbelievable scale where 1 cent equals $1 billion in revenue potential.
Yeah, it's hard to get your head around.
It is. We've discovered the secret, unique formula that makes the Coca-Cola taste distinct, and we've analyzed how the Big Mac Index can be subject to extraordinary, years-long political manipulation by sovereign governments.
Ultimately, the enduring global appeal of McDonald's is rooted in absolute predictability. It provides security, standardization, and a guaranteed product experience. Whether you're a high-end customer in Hong Kong getting waiter service or a traveler in Morocco looking for guaranteed hygiene against food risk.
The machine runs on minimizing variance and maximizing time efficiency, cementing its place as one of the most successful and impactful logistical operations in global history.
So we'll leave you with this final provocative thought to mull over, one that connects global wealth to local aspirations. If McDonald's is the most expensive, requiring near-elite status in wealthy, high-cost countries like Switzerland, but at the same time it functions as an elite luxury item in developing nations like Egypt or Azerbaijan, what does the price of a standardized cheeseburger really tell us about global power dynamics, the true purchasing power of the average citizen, and the national aspirations tied to consuming a piece of Western efficiency? Think about that next time you see the Golden Arches.